Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Today I'm bringing you my Tome Infinity and Beyond Round 2 TBR. So you may have seen my Tome Infinity and Beyond Round 2 announcement video. I have been invited to co-host Round 2, which takes place from January 1st to January 31st. It is a month-long readathon featuring the sci-fi genre because January is sci-fi month, which I had no idea, but it's pretty cool. So to learn everything you can about the Tome Infinity and Beyond readathon, I will link my announcement video along with the other hosts' announcement videos in the description box so you can learn all about it and figure out what to do if you haven't seen it already. So go watch it and then come back. So round 2 of Tome Infinity is broken down by tiers. So we are on our planet, our new planet, because in round 1, Earth was destroyed and we had to make our way across the galaxy to find a new home planet. So you should have settled on your planet, which mine is Neptune. And now that you're settled on your new planet, you have to survive. So there are 5 tiers of surviving and thriving on your new home planet. So tier 1 is just basic survival, and there are 6 categories within basic survival: air, water, fire, food, sleep, and shelter. These are all things that you will need to build, gather, and have to survive. So you need to pick a book for each category, or you can double up on the categories since that is quite a lot. So within tier 1, I'm going to start with fire. And for that one, I'm going to be reading Immortally Yours by Lindsay Sands. This is a paranormal romance series. This is number 26 in this series, I believe. I'm trying to get through them all, trying to catch up. But how this fits into sci-fi is that the vampires in this book series are actually descendants from the Atlantean race, and they were genius scientists that injected their citizens with what's called nanites. And when Atlantis fell and they had to go into the less advanced civilization beyond, they still needed the blood and things to feed the nanites, because that's what the nanites live off of. They need an excess amount of blood. The nanites evolved their body to get the blood that they need. So it gave them night vision, super hearing, super strength, and also fangs to be able to get blood from animals or people. So that's how the science, the sci-fi aspect comes into this particular series. So how this fits into fire is that in the synopsis, the chemistry between the 2 main protagonists is said to be explosive. So explosive, fire, you see where I'm going with this. So that is what I picked for fire. And for all the other categories within this basic survivor tier: air, water, food, sleep, and shelter, I'm going to be reading the Alice in Deadland series or trilogy by Manak Dar. I hope I'm saying that right, and I hope you can see this. I know there's a big light on top of me here, so sorry if there's a glare. But the first book is Alice in Deadland, the second book is Through the Killing Glass, and the third book is Off with Their Heads. In this book series, civilization has ended and it's just a wasteland due to a war between humans and biters, zombies. And the main protagonist, Alice, has to survive in this wasteland and fend off the biters. And it has a little Alice in Wonderland twist. So that is 4 books in total for the first tier. And if you want to move on to tier 2, you most certainly can, or you can just be a basic survivalist on your new home planet. You can tackle as many tiers and challenges as you want. So I'm gonna go all the way. I'm gonna try and tackle all 5 tiers. So as soon as you're done with tier 1, you can move on to tier 2, which is small settlements. And the categories within that tier are medicine, education, travel, trading, procreation, and oral communications. Starting with travel, I'm going to be reading Slave, which is book number 1 in the Cat Star Chronicles by Cheryl Brooks. And this is about a race of aliens. They are going extinct because they have something that is a very valued commodity. So they are enslaved because of it. They are bought and sold and traded. Some make it to freedom, some don't. But within this first book, the main female protagonist She is not one of the alien races, and she is traveling from planet to planet to try and find her kidnapped sister. So that is how she runs into the main male protagonist, who is a part of the alien race. Next one here is Medicine. And for that one, I'm going to be reading Warrior, which is book number 2 in the Cat Star Chronicles by Cheryl Brooks. In this book, same premise, just different couples. The main female protagonist is a healer. She has powers that help her heal people, so I use that to incorporate for the medicine challenge. For trading, I'm going to be reading Rogue, which is book 3 in the Cat Star Chronicles. In this book, the main male protagonist, who is the alien, is enslaved by the queen of a planet, and he is traded or given to the main female protagonist. So that is how I'm incorporating trading. For Procreation, I'm going to be reading Cure by Belinda Friesch. I think that's how you say it. Sorry if you can't see that. This is another zombie novel. The main female protagonist in this story is pregnant, and the cure they think for the zombie affliction is they think within her unborn baby. And for education and oral communication, I doubled up on that one. I'm going to be reading Talented by Sophie Davis. This book is described as X-Men meets Divergent, and in this book, the female protagonist goes to the school for the talented, and she's trying to learn her talent or control her talent as a mental manipulator. So that is how I combined education and oral communication. So that is 5 books within one tier. And then moving on to tier 3, which is growing civilizations. And the categories within this tier are urban settlements, class structure, government, higher education, technology, and religion. For class structure, I'm going to be reading Outcast, which is book number 4 in the Cat Star Chronicles by Cheryl Brooks. The main male protagonist is a part of the alien race who is enslaved to this harem, and that is how I incorporated the class structure element. For urban settlements and government, I doubled up on those challenges, and I'm going to be reading Twice Bitten by Lindsay Sands. In this book, our female protagonist falls in love with her landlady's grandson, and the grandson is an ex-special forces officer for the government, so that is how I incorporated those two. For higher education and technology, I doubled up, and I'm going to be reading Angel by S.A. Hutchin? Is that how you say it? In this story, the main female protagonist is genetically engineered, and she has to go to a special school to learn to control her new abilities. And for the last one, religion, I'm going to be reading Ravenous by Erica Stevens. And I picked this one based on the synopsis. It gave me a very end of days, biblical end of days kind of feeling, so I'll just read the little part that made me think of that. The world didn't end with a bang. It didn't go out in a ball of fire in fury, nor did it end in ice. But in some strange way, ice was the end, or maybe it was the beginning of something more. So that little snippet kind of gave me like biblical end times thoughts. So that's how I picked for religion. Moving on to tier 4, which is modern high society. And the categories within that tier are art, music, acting, writing, invention, and dance. For the art category, I am going to be reading Vampires Like It Hot, which is book 28 in the Argony series by Lindsay Sands. I chose this one for the art category because the main male protagonist's name in this book is Raphael, and in the late 1400s and early 1500s there was an Italian painter and architect by the name of Raphael. For acting and invention, I'm going to be reading the Star Wars trilogy by George Lucas. This is just a bind up that I have from the Barnes & Noble leather-bound classic editions. I picked this for acting because obviously we know there is a widely loved movie franchise. So acting, and then also invention. There's obviously technology in this book that somebody invented. So that is how I incorporated those two categories. And you can probably throw in writing in there as well. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the movies were released first and then George Lucas wrote the books for it. I think that's right. should probably Google my facts before I say stuff. And then for music and dance, I'm going to be reading Space Opera by Catherine Valente. I think that's how you say it. Opera, music. Typically within operas, there is some kind of choreography for a dance number, maybe. I'm grasping at straws here is really what I'm doing. These last tiers are hard. And then finally, we are at the last tier, which is the Galactic Empire. And the categories within that tier are Futurism or Afrofuturism, Cyberpunk or Steampunk, Apocalyptic or Dystopian, Science Fantasy or Bizarre, Hard Science or Space Opera, Vintage or Space Western. So all of these terms are actually subgenres within the sci-fi genre. So really what I just did is I Googled these terms and kind of got a better understanding of what they're looking for when going into this subgenre. So I chose Futurism, Cyberpunk, Dystopian, and Science Fantasy. And for those, I am reading Renegades by Marissa Meyer. And this is strictly just because of the cover. If you look at the cover, this does seem very futuristic, very cyberpunk, science fantasy. I'm all for it. And it's a dystopian because they are in a kind of ruined futuristic society. So that's how I picked those categories for this. And the last two, hard science and vintage, I actually just Googled hard science sci-fi books, and what came up was 2001 Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. And it works for vintage as well because I believe it was originally published in 1968. So you got the vintage in there as well. Whew. So that is all my tiers. That is my TBR. I am reading a total of 18 books. I counted this bind up as one book. So if you want to be technical, I'm reading 20 books. 20 books in 31 days. Doable. I'm pushing it, pushing myself for the beginning of the year here. So it was actually a lot harder to pick books for these categories than I thought it was gonna be, but honestly, don't beat yourself up over this, even if it's very loosely tied to the categories. If you think a particular book goes with that category, just read it. There are really no rules here. No one is going to be commenting on your videos saying, no, that's not right. Don't pull your hair out. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Don't forget to like my video if you did. Comment below if you have read any of these books, if we have similar books on our TBRs, what is on your TBR if you did a TBR video. I want to know about it. Tell me all about it. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms. The links will be in the description box below. I'll see you next time, Avid Readers.